Welcome back, MTN Nets podcast. We're going to talk about who are the Brooklyn Nets going to take at number 8 overall in this draft. Of course, they have 4 other picks in the first round, 19, 26, 27, and pick 36 in the second round. But I specifically want to focus on number 8. I've watched about 40 prospects so far, so I feel pretty well versed in what's going on and honestly who should be available at number 8. Like, I'm going to say off the bat, Cooper Flagg, not going to be there. Dylan Harper, Ace Bailey, I'd be shocked. Edgecombe, I'd be shocked. Even Trey Johnson. I feel like those 5 are off the board. Everything else, it's in play. So we'll go over some of the realistic prospects the Nets can take at number 8. And I do want to do other videos before the draft, which I believe is now less than a month away. I do want to make some other videos about who they can take at picks 19, 26, 27, even 36. And I'm sure more reports will drop as the weeks come with Nets draft visits and rumors and things like that. We've heard rumors recently about Jonathan Kuminga will not be a Brooklyn Net, according to The Athletic, which is probably a good thing in the end. I heard Karis LeVert. There's some interest with the Nets in Karis LeVert. I don't fully believe that, but that'd be pretty funny if Sean Marks went from getting rid of LeVert, D'Angelo Russell, and Spencer Dinwiddie to getting all 3 back in a few years span. So that'd be a weird thing. But anyway, leave a like, subscribe, leave in the comments. Who do you guys want at number 8? Let me know, and let's get into it. We'll start with Kon Knueppel, of course, a polarizing player in the Nets community, a shooting guard / small forward out of Duke, 6'7". Well, he was 6'5" officially, but listed at 6'7" most of the year. We know as most of these measurements came in, a lot of guys fell 2 inches, 3 inches shorter than what was displayed during their college days, and it's annoying. I don't know why that happens. I know, kids can grow at 18, 19, but still, I feel like a lot of these measurements were off for obvious reasons. So Knueppel is almost 20 years old. On the Tankathon draft, mock draft, he was listed at 19.9 years old, so he'll be 20 by the start of next year. 6'5" officially. He does get downhill well. There's no wasted movements. Like, he's not one of those herky-jerky guys who's going to break you down off the dribble. He's going to put the ball down on the floor, 1 or 2 dribbles, get to his spot, but he does finish well around the rim, so I give him credit for that. He is a good shooter at all 3 levels. He can hit the mid-range. Of course, he's a knockdown 3-point shooter. He will give you spacing. He understands where to be on the floor, so he will give you enough floor spacing for sure. He does have good leverage when driving. He's a crafty finisher. He's just one of those guys who knows where to be. He moves without the basketball very well. He does make the right pass when it's there. I saw some lob passes to Maluach and things like that. Concerns or negatives for his game, he's nothing special athletically. I would say average at best, but being 6'5" and 220 pounds or so, you can get by with that. He does struggle in isolation on defense. He does lack lateral quickness, so that's going to be something that's a concern for him. And for each player I watched, I put like a bottom line, just kind of like in conclusion, what I think about this guy. So I put he's a 3rd or 4th option on a championship team. Knueppel will play his role and do it well. He has average athleticism that caps his upside. So this is not the type of player you are shooting for with the 8th overall pick, but he is safe. I don't really see a scenario where Knueppel is not a pretty valuable role player in the NBA, and we've seen Sean Marks go crazy over players like this before. Joe Harris comes to mind. I do think Knueppel's better than Joe Harris, I will say. But Joe Harris, I mean, look, in his prime, he led the league in 3-point percentage back-to-back years, so he was no slouch, but I do think Knueppel has a higher ceiling. So it won't be the sexiest pick, and I don't think any Nets fans will just do victory laps over this one. I think some will. Like, I've heard some people have Knueppel in their top 5 of prospects. I don't think I'm there personally, but I would say he's top 10. Like, it's definitely reasonable to take Kon Knueppel with the 8th overall pick. It's just not one of those picks that's exciting, and that's just how it is. But I will say, if you take Knueppel at number 8, I would much rather take a shot on upside with one of those picks at 26, 27. Because with Knueppel, you kind of know what you're getting. So at that point, when you're picking in the late 20s, you might as well just take a shot at a guy that can be something big. A young guy like a Ben Serif, that comes to mind. I don't know if that's specifically who I'm talking about, but someone of that prototype, someone that's 18, 19 and has room to grow and be something much better than what he is right now. So just somebody like that. Even Noah Penda, he's only 20 years old. So like even someone like that will be fine. Next, we have Jeremiah Fears. So he, of course, is another guy. I feel like a lot of Nets fans on Twitter either love this guy or they hate him. He is 6'2" and a half officially. He was listed at 6'4" throughout the year. So another guy who had his height, definitely inflated. Only 18 years old. He'll be 19 by the start of the regular season next year. So it's pretty crazy. Like, his birthday's October 14th. So he's going to turn 19 like right as the season starts. So he is one of the younger guys in this class, which is one of the intriguing parts of Jeremiah Fears. He does, of course, have a very quick first step. He has a solid handle. He knows how to get to his spots. He's comfortable and creative in the lane. He does that Euro deceleration stuff. So he does get crafty in the lane. So you have to have that as a small player. We see Jalen Brunson do that. I know a lot of foul baiting and stuff is involved, but Jeremiah Fears, at least, he can have the ability to get in the lane, find a way to get his shot up amongst the trees, if you will. He does have some impressive dunks. I feel like he's a better athlete than people give him credit for. He reminds me so much, and I've said this a couple times on Twitter, probably like responding to people, but when I first watched him, he reminded me so much of Devin Harris, like the good version of Devin Harris, not like Devin Harris had a weird fall off with the Nets, but like the all-star version of Devin Harris. The quickness obviously is so similar, and their size is pretty similar. The ability to make threes, although inconsistently, also reminds me of Devin Harris. So like there's so much similarities with their game. Of course, if you're taking Fears at number 8 overall, you would hope for a higher end outcome like a Damian Lillard or something like that, although Fears would have a long ways to go as a shooter to reach the level of a Damian Lillard. As I said, one of the younger guys in this class. For the negatives and concerns, can he become an elite shooter? He was a 28% shooter from 3 this past year. He does take some wild shots, which maybe that's a team thing, but that can definitely be sorted out in the NBA. Does have too many turnovers. His assist to turnover ratio was pretty bad. 4.1 assists per game, but 3.4 turnovers per game, and he can get overpowered on defense, obviously, for a smaller guy, only 182 pounds. Bottom line, I would say he's a second or third option on a title team. I said he reminds me of a supercharged Devin Harris. He can only go so far without a consistent jumper, so unless that's fixed, his upside will be limited. If he does fix that, however, we're talking about a starting point guard for a high-level team. So unlike Kon Knueppel, there is a pretty high ceiling with Jeremiah Fears. You can see a scenario where, I know he's a bit smaller at 6'2.5", but you can see a scenario where he ends up being a number 2 on a championship level team. I think that's possible. But you also see the downside of like, all right, this guy is not a consistent shooter. He's small. He'll probably get hunted on defense. His playmaking definitely needs improvement. So there's a lot of pros and a lot of cons here. I just don't know how risk-adverse Sean Marks is going to be, or even if he'll be available at number 8. We don't know about that yet, so that's another thing. But if they took Fears, I can get behind it. He's exciting, and I feel like the upside's very high. I mean, if Cam Thomas is a long-term piece for this team, I do have my concerns about a Jeremiah Fears and Cam Thomas backcourt that might be a little bit odd. Not much of a playmaker thing going on there with either of those guys, so it might not be the best fit, but we'll see what they do. But Jeremiah Fears, I wouldn't freak out about it in a bad way. Next, we're going to have, I think it's Khaman Maluach. It's the center from Duke, of course, 7'2", 250, officially 7 feet 3/4. This is a guy who probably defensively has a stupid amount of upside. He can move his feet. Rim protector, obviously, at 7 feet tall. Does have some very emphatic blocks. And I feel like on defense, there's enough switchability. I wouldn't call him a 1-5 defender, but definitely a 2-5. I don't know if he can stick with the very quick guards in this league, but he won't be a complete cone on, like, I keep mentioning his name, Damian Lillard or someone like that. Like, I feel like he can guard some quicker guards. If Tyrese Maxey took him out to the perimeter, like, there's a chance that Khaman Maluach, I keep pronouncing his first name wrong. I don't know if it's Khaman or, I don't want to say Kuman like that learning center, but yeah, we'll just go with Maluach. But there is a ton of upside defensively. He does have a smooth looking jump shot, so that can develop into something. He made 76% of his foul shots. I do love that. So he should not be a liability in that department. He's definitely a lob threat offensively, caught a ton of lobs at Duke, of course. And I saw the videos of him shooting at the combine. Like, he does have a good-looking jump shot, so I don't think he'll ever be like a 40% three-point shooter, but can he ever develop a three-point shot in the corner at 35% and at least make defenses have to come out to him and contest his threes? I mean, yeah, it's definitely possible. So it might take some work. Guy's only 18 right now, and he just started playing basketball, like, I think a few years ago. Yeah, he didn't start playing basketball till he was 13, so he's 18 now. So that's 5 years of playing basketball. So, like, the guy can absolutely develop into something even better than he is right now. For the concerns, doesn't have much of an offensive skill set right now. That can change, of course. Like, he's not going to be doing any great post moves or face-ups or anything like that. Back to the basket, hook shots, we're probably not going to see that right away. Can he develop into a respectable shooter? That's a question. If he does, then this is definitely going to be worth the 8th overall pick. He does have issues boxing out and could be a limited rebounder until that's fixed. I think personally that's a feel thing, and it's going to have to be taught because the guy just started playing basketball a few years ago. So he probably didn't really know how to box out until maybe a few years ago. It's like one of those things that can be fixed and probably will be fixed. But then again, there are centers, like I think of Brook Lopez, of course, with the Nets, even Miles Turner sometimes, guys that they are big and they are 7 feet, but they're just not the best rebounders. They're more there to block shots and box out, which is still valuable, but it makes your other 4 guys on the court have to rebound even better. For the bottom line, I said it may take 4 to 6 years to see the best version of Maluach, but the traits are worth betting on. He has the ability to impact NBA games from day one as a Mitchell Robinson level player, which I typed this a few weeks ago. I feel like Mitch Robinson, the respect for him has gone way up recently, so maybe Mitch Robinson's not the best comparison as of now. But does he give you more than a Mitchell Robinson when he reaches his ceiling? That's the real question. So if he ever does develop that jump shot and develops some offensive moves in the post, I know post offense is not the biggest thing in the 2025 NBA, but it's still nice to have. Like, you compare Maluach to a Derek Queen, who we'll talk about next. Like, Derek Queen is just so smooth, great footwork, great touch. Maluach doesn't have those things. So if he ever was able to develop and have those things implemented into his game, Maluach's going to be one of the best players in this draft. But if he ends up being Mitchell Robinson, as I keep saying, will that be worth the 8th overall pick? I feel like some people may say yes, some may say no. I would hope for a bit more personally, but I do think Maluach, he'll come around. I think he will get better, and I do think at some point he'll be a respectable shooter. So I personally like him a lot. I would take him 8th overall if he's there. I guess it depends who else is there, but based on who realistically should be there, I'd be fine with Maluach as the Nets center. That would lead you to questions with Nick Claxton and his future, Day'Ron Sharpe, do they re-sign him? All those type of questions. So if and when this happens, we'll get to those discussions, but I do like Maluach for the most part. Derek Queen, the center out of Maryland, another pretty polarizing player once again. 6'9" and a quarter officially, that was his height. And I think a lot of us were hoping for a 6'10", 6'11" at least. He did not get there. It could have been worse. I feel like maybe 6'8" was in the cards, and it wasn't, luckily. So 6'9" and a quarter. He is built well. He's listed at 246 pounds, 20 and a half years old, and he's just a really skilled basketball player. There are, of course, athleticism concerns and other things, but you just watch him play compared to most other centers, and it's like, yeah, this guy is just a good basketball player. So he can face up, he can handle the ball, he has post moves. His jumper isn't, I said, visually appealing, but he does make some. He made 20% from 3, so that has to get better. He shoots a very line drive-ish looking shot, and his form is not that great. He does pass the ball very well for a big man. Like, that's one of his strengths for sure. I wrote down, as I just said, just naturally a good basketball player. He's not gifted athletically. He does finish well with both hands. He's pretty good on weak side help on defense. He has some rim protecting ability. Of course, it's not great because he is only 6'9" and doesn't jump that high. He has that good floater offensively with some good touch. He's a guy that gets crafty in the lane. He can decelerate, Euro step, spin moves, all that type of stuff. Like, he's got a pretty big offensive bag, I guess we can say. He can be a solid pick and pop threat if the jumper gets more consistent. I have for concerns, not a special athlete. He's 20 and a half years old. Of course, you'd rather draft someone 18, 19. He's not going to affect the game above the rim in all likelihood. His jumper still needs some work, and can he switch onto NBA guards defensively? For bottom line, I said, given his age and limited athletic ability, I think Queen's best days will be in college. Wow, I sound like a hater. There's a chance he turns into discount Jokic, but as an NBA player, our team's going to make him their focal point offensively. I'd bet against it, but he's still worth taking in the top 15 based on his talent alone. So as you can see, I'm not a big fan of taking him at 8th overall, but if Derek Queen is the pick, then it is what it is. I won't freak out about it, but I just feel like there is there's players with more upside than taking Derek Queen. And if you're going to take a high floor guy who's safe, I would just prefer Kon Knueppel at that point. But Derek Queen, there's a lot to like. He's just a skilled player with size. And even at that point, I think I'd rather have CMB. Like, I'd rather just go for that if that's what we're going to do. But so Derek Queen, he's not really high on my board if I were to have an entire board, but it's not like I would react the same way I reacted when like the Giants took Daniel Jones or some shit. Like, it's not going to be that bad. So if Derek Queen's the pick, so be it. I just think I've heard other people say like he might fall much further than people anticipate. So I don't think he'll be Sean Marks' cup of tea. I'd be a little surprised if the Nets took him at 8, but if he somehow fell to 19, then yeah, that's definitely in play, so we'll see. Kasparas Yakonis, I believe is how you say it. Point guard out of Illinois. He's a guy who coming into the year I think had a lot of hype and didn't exactly live up to it. Didn't have a bad year, but people expected more. He is 6'4", 3/4 officially. He's from Lithuania, same places like Sabonis, Valanciunas, Buzelis, who of course was a rookie last year. For a Nets team that needs a point guard, they needed somebody like this for a long time. He is the prototype for what the Nets need. I do wish he was actually 6'6", as his height in college suggested, but of course that was off. He can create his own shot, but he does need to get more consistent with it, which I feel like is the case for a lot of these guys. He did have a 4.7 to 3.7 assist to turnover ratio in 2024-25, so that of course has to be better. Like, he'll make good passes, he'll push in transition, but he'll also make some dumb passes, and it just makes you want to pull your hair out. So there is some learning. He's only 19, like he's barely 19, so he is an impressive passer in transition. His jumper does look smooth. I feel like it will get better as time goes on. He's a crafty finisher. He does like these up fakes. He does some foul baiting shit, which it works in the NBA. You know, I just brought up Brunson, SGA, like foul baiting. I hate it. It's unethical basketball, but it works. If it's happening for your team, you're like, hey, all right, give me 2 shots. So he's one of those guys who will probably end up being one of those players that knows how to get to the line. He looks comfortable finishing with either hand. He can definitely be a team's main ball handler. I wouldn't say he's like elite in terms of handles, but it's good enough. He does play hard. He has a fearless mentality. I feel like I've heard stories of people that know him and they say like he's such a competitor. I do love that. For the concerns, there are too many turnovers and stupid fouls. Not sure he has the strength and agility to be a plus defender right now in the NBA. He's not an above the rim guy. He does lack elite athleticism. Needs to rely on being crafty rather than beating guys with his first step. I wrote down guys like Luka, guys like Brunson, guys that they're not incredibly quick, but they just know how to beat their man, just get by their shoulder and kind of just nudge, get the contact, and sometimes get the calls and things like that. But Yakonis, like, he'll have to be like that. He'll have to be more of a crafty guy. He's probably not going to beat guys off the dribble and dunk on them like a prime John Wall and things like that. Bottom line for me, I can see why Yakonis is a polarizing prospect. In a perfect world, he becomes a floor general with size and can create his own shot. The downside is the bad turnovers will continue. Lack of athleticism hurts him, and his jumper never comes around. I said I lean towards the former, so I am a believer in Kasparas Yakonis. Like, I would much prefer him over Derek Queen, which I know some people have the complete opposite opinions, which that's what makes draft season fun for pretty much anything, of course, NFL, NBA. I don't think many people dive into the MLB draft, but you get what I'm saying. There are so many different opinions here, and I like Kasparas more than I like Derek Queen, and I just feel like I have my reasons for it. I think for me, a lot of it's like team need. Like, the Nets absolutely need a guy that can be a table setter and set other guys up, and I feel like if Yakonis got rid of these dumb turnovers, like, he'd be very good at that. And they just need a guy that can have the ball in his hands for a majority of the game and just make the right plays, and hopefully he turns into that. So he is, once again, barely 19 years old, so a lot of growing to do, but I like his game. So if Yakonis is their pick at number 8, then I'll be pretty happy about it. Next on my list was Essengue. I don't see him going at 8. Chase Richardson, it's possible. I just don't really see it. Let's go to Colin Murray Boyles. I feel like there's a chance that happens at least. Murray Boyles, very polarizing. There's people that think this guy is like the next, like, Draymond, but better, and there's people that think he's dog shit. So it's like you get so many different opinions. He is 6'6.5" officially, does have a 7'3" wingspan, so that definitely helps out a lot. I couldn't help but seeing Julius Randle. I know a lot of people made that comparison. That was the first thing I noticed, like 3 plays into watching him. I'm like, this is Julius Randle right here. The outside shooting is inconsistent. He was 26% from 3. His shooting form does look pretty good, so it definitely could work out if he just matches with the right coach and works on his shot enough. He makes some great passes. He has some amazing floor vision for a guy that size. He can be a guy who plays the 4 and just makes some really impressive passes and can maybe get 6 to 7 assists per game, kind of what maybe Ben Simmons was supposed to be with this team. He can post up, he can face up, he can go into isolation, he'll make some big boy moves. He's a strong guy. He's listed at 231, but he definitely was moving guys in college. Of course, that can change in the NBA. He was even making skip passes off of pick and roll. So he just does such a good job of seeing the floor. He'll be the roller and he would just get the ball in the lane, kick it to the corner, wide open 3. So he's just good for team basketball. I do like that about him. His defense is very special. He's switchable. He's disciplined. He is super engaged defensively. He can mirror defensively. He moves his feet very well for a guy of his size. He's good at squaring up his body and taking charges. For the concerns for him, I would say you can tell he's a limited athlete, of course. He's a bit stiff as an athlete. His vertical is nothing impressive. He definitely has to rely on his strength more than his vertical. I think of guys like Zach Randolph. It's a different era, but a guy kind of built like that. I really wish he were 6'8 or 6'10. I would be all in at that point, but being at 6'6 and a half, it's a little bit difficult to buy into these traits. For bottom line, I said if Murray Boyles is giving you Julius Randle without the boneheaded plays, then that's intriguing. I feel like his floor is high. I don't see how he's not an impact player in the NBA. In a game that relies on shooting and playing above the rim, can he prevail? I would bet on it. And if the Nets were to take him at number 8, I would not be mad. So he's not my first choice, of course, but if CMB is the pick at number 8, I can live with it. I think there's enough there to get behind. He's such a good player on both ends. He's a high IQ player. And I feel like the Nets front office would love a guy like this. He's barely 20 years old, so still pretty young. And as I said, if he ends up being Julius Randle, I remember hearing this on Bill Simmons. Julius Randle's one of X amount of players that averaged 20 points and 8 rebounds per game in their career. And it's a very impressive list. So if CMB ends up being Julius Randle, but you take out the boneheaded plays and just taking the dumb shots, you're getting a very good player. So I can live with it. I don't think it's the most exciting pick, but it's not the worst either. So if Marks in the front office decide that CMB is the guy, then okay, I can get behind it. I know some people are going to hate that, but I could see them doing it, so we'll see what happens there. Last guy we're going to talk about, hopefully I'm not forgetting anybody. If I did, let me know. We'll go over them next video. But Noah Essengue. I think that's how you say it, because when you listen to the French broadcast, they say his name so fast, it's what's his name? You can't even pick it up. Essengue is one of the more, I would say, high ceiling guys. He's 18 and a half years old, so still very, very young. He is 6'10 in shoes, so I'm assuming he's really 6'8, but he does look more 6'10, so I don't know. I don't know what his actual height's going to end up being. It might be out there, I just didn't find it. He has a ton of upside. He's a lanky build, and he probably has to put on muscle, but those lanky builds, they work nowadays. Think of Wemby, think of Chet, think of somebody else I'm probably forgetting. He has a good looking jumper. He shot 29% from 3 last season. I'll take that. You can work with that. He finishes well at the rim. He has some unexpected dunks. He does have some off balance layups that are nice. He can handle the ball pretty well. He can drive one-on-one. So for a guy that size, that's great having that. I wrote down that Sean Marks in the front office, they loved Noah Clowney enough to take him. I feel like Noah Essengue he's obviously going to be better than Noah Clowney, I think at least. And I'm just saying, if they loved Noah Clowney's build, they'd probably love Essengue as well. So I feel like that's something the Nets front office may look into. I've seen people say it can go as high as 8. It wouldn't be shocking at this point. I saw he played well today in his final game. So he's a guy that can definitely go much higher than people expect. He's an unselfish offensive player. He definitely makes the right passes. He has long arms to get into passing lanes defensively. He can switch 1 through 5. For my concerns, he does throw up some out-of-control layups at times. There are going to be guys that are stronger than him in the NBA. That's a concern. His shooting does have to be more consistent. The bottom line, Essengue seems pretty far from a finished product, so this will take a few years. If he refines his skills, develops a tighter handle, shoots better, and has a more composed offensive game, then his ceiling is really high. I did write down I'd be nervous taking him at number 8, but if they did it, okay, I can get behind it because the ceiling is crazy high. There are people out there that would much rather take the shot on Essengue as compared to Knueppel, and there are people that'd rather take Knueppel than take Essengue. And if you like taking a risk, you'll take Essengue. If you don't like it, you'll take Knueppel. It's pretty simple. So next video, definitely a lot of guys I want to want to talk about, Igor Demon. We'll talk about Nolan Traore. We'll talk about Thomas Sorber, Carter Bryant, all those type of guys. So we'll get to that next Nets video. I'll probably have that in hopefully like a week or two. I guess we'll talk NBA. Why not? The conference finals are over. Thank God the Knicks lost. The Timberwolves lost in 5. That was a weird series. Like, they had that one game they won by 40 points, and aside from that, they didn't look too competitive. Like, the T-Wolves had some games where it looked like it was going to be competitive coming into the final quarter, and then it just wasn't. The Thunder are so good defensively. Like, they're one of the better defensive teams I've seen in, like, the past 10 years. So, like, they're just so good. I think the finals will be somewhat exciting. I can see it going 6 games, and I think it will be good basketball, but I just think the Thunder are too good to beat. Like, unless Chet or SGA gets hurt or something big like that, I just think the Thunder are too good. So in my opinion, it goes 6. I think the Thunder win this one in 6. And as for the Knicks, of course, this was a tough thing for them. I love seeing that. I hate that team, so it was great seeing them lose, but this is tough for them. Like, this was their chance. You think about, I tweeted this before, but you had a 64-win Cavs team that got out in round 2. You didn't even have to play them, so that is great. Like, the Pacers took care of them for you. The Celtics had 2 historic chokes in games 1 and 2 against you guys, and Tatum tears his Achilles. It would have been 3-1 anyway, so I think that series was over regardless. Damian Lillard and the Bucks, Dame tears his Achilles. The Bucks are out of sorts. Their role players suck. Worst possible season for the Sixers. They should be much better next year. And the Pistons, who gave the Knicks a 6-game series, they were competitive in every game. And the Magic, they're still a year away. So I think the Magic and Pistons will be better next year. And this was really the Knicks' best chance, I think, in this window to make the NBA Finals. And they should have. They were favored. They were healthy. I mean, I know Cat had that knee thing, and probably some other guys were banged up. I think Josh Hart had like a dislocated finger, whatever. Guy can't shoot anyway. But this series, it makes a lot of Knicks fans kind of on tilt. Some people saying to trade Bridges, trade OG, Josh Hart's gone. People want Tibbs fired, although I think they already said Tibbs is back for next year. And if the Knicks had a better bench, they win. I mean, not even better bench. If they just close out game 1 where they were up like 9 points with, 50 seconds to go when they lose that game, it was crazy. I had that game turned off. I thought it was over. I was pissed. And then I checked the score on my phone. It's in overtime, and you see the highlights of that game. It's like, holy crap. So one of the more exciting comebacks, and I love Tyrese Halliburton. He's doing the Lord's work here. So while the Nets are still rebuilding, we need other teams to take care of them for us. And the more the Knicks lose and struggle, it's better for us. The Nets have their draft picks up until like 2029 or something. So this was great. It was nice to see. So I mean, I know last year a lot of Knicks fans said, oh, it was the injuries, that's why the Pacers won, although they blew a 2-0 lead in that series, of course. But now what are they going to say? I mean, the Knicks were pretty healthy, and they still lost the series. Even the Pacers not having Isaiah Jackson the whole series, it was a torn Achilles. Like, that was a tough injury for them. So he definitely would have played over that other guy. I already forgot his name. Not Jarris Walker. I like Jarris Walker. Who the hell was the guy who filled in for? Oh, Tony Bradley. Tony Bradley got hurt as well. So like Isaiah Jackson 100% would have played over Tony Bradley. So like that was kind of a big loss for the Pacers. But yeah, that's a big missed opportunity. And I think back to the 2021 Nets, and like those windows are precious. No pun intended, because the Knicks have a guy named Precious, but those windows are precious, and I think the Knicks will compete for at least another couple years. Like, the Celtics should be out of commission with Tatum gone, but as I said, the Sixers will be better. I don't know about the Bucks, but the Magic and the Pistons, they will be better. The Cavs, they should be better. Maybe not better, but like the Cavs should at least be better in the playoffs. So the East, like, this was their chance, and luckily they blew it. So I was happy to see that. It's good news for us. And maybe the Knicks go out there and they just make an irrational trade. I mean, they kind of did that with Cat. I feel like Cat, it had its moments of working, but also had its moments of looking terrible. So we'll see what they do. Could Giannis be a Knick? Could KD be a Knick? I mean, we'll find out. Like, it's going to be an interesting offseason from that perspective. And I do think, just from people that enjoy basketball, I think the Thunder and Pacers finals will be fun. It'll be fast-paced. It'll be 2 young teams that are very deep, just going at it, like teams that can go 9-10 guys deep each, which was annoying with the Knicks because they were playing like a very strict like 7-8 man rotation early in the series, and then by the end of it, it's like you're playing DeLon Wright and Landry Shamet and just all these weird dudes, a bunch of like big minutes. So the way that whole series unfolded was pretty weird, but I feel like Tibbs had his back against the wall. They made that lineup change with putting Mitchell Robinson in for Josh Hart. And Josh Hart, his days as a Knick may be over. I mean, we'll see. I know a lot of Knicks fans on Twitter want him gone, so we'll see what happens with him. But I'm just happy they blew that chance, because that may be their best one yet. As always, leave a like, subscribe. As I said, we'll go over the remaining prospects that could go to the Nets in the coming weeks. Hope you all enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys next time.